Hi everybody and welcome back to Sticks and Stones Wood Carving. I'm Kevin and I found this piece of bark in my box and it looks like it was pretty shaly and a lot of it popped off and I wanted to see if I could do something with it. It's actually a piece, not much to it. I don't know. So I hate to throw stuff away, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean it off with my sanding drum and I'm going to try and challenge myself and use just one bit to carve the whole thing. I like to challenge myself and see if I can improve. So what I'm going to do is use a Cuttall tapered bit and see if I can get a whole carving, eyes and everything, just with that one bit. And then maybe just use like a small detail bit to finish it off. So let's see if I can pull it off. And if you want to do this challenge with me, it's great practice. I like to try and look at my box, get one bit, and see if I can carve an entire carving with just that bit. I do this a lot. So let's see if we can pull this off here. This right here is the tapered bit from Cuttall. I'm going to go around the whole carving with it and see if I can make an entire carving with just this bit. And there's not much wood here, so hopefully we can get something out of this guy and won't have to throw the piece away. All thin, a lot of it had fallen off. The more I dug in this thing, the more I found out it's just not going to be one of those nice, gnarly, thick carvings that I'm used to. So I'm just going to have to take my time and see if I can get a nice spirit face on them. And it's a nice challenge to just try and do a carving with just one bit. I've done this with just a sanding drum. I've done it with just Cuttall Extreme burrs. I've done them with just about every bit that I have in my box. And I've also challenged myself and done wood spares with just a knife for years. As a matter of fact, that's all I did with wood spares. But should be interesting, and I think we could come up with something as long as I don't punch through it. So it's going to be a neat little video to watch and see what I come up with. And again, this would actually be a good challenge. You know how Jordy Johnson does challenges all the time. Challenge yourself. You know, get any bit, or use a Cuttall tapered bit like I am here. Take a piece of wood and try to make your entire carving with just that. I tell you, by the end of the carving, you'll pretty much have mastered using that bit, I bet. Or at least you'll know exactly what that bit is capable of. Okay. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to let you watch it. I'm going to go through it. It's not really a tutorial as far as teaching goes, but it should be an interesting watch. And we'll see if we can come up with something. I do think at the end, though, I'm going to detail him with one other bit. Probably my little Dremel bit that I showed you in the last video. Triangle cutter, that little cone-shaped bit. It'd probably be perfect for punching the eyes in. But I am going to try and do everything with this bit until I get to some very fine detail to make them look like something that I can actually maybe still sell. So far, so good. Biggest thing is when I want to shape down, of course it's not going to remove a lot of wood, but it's great for digging, that's for sure. And smoothing. It's extra long so you can get in some tight places if you want to really get some depth. This bit's pretty aggressive too. It's a really good bit on any carving and any type of wood, even the harder woods. This bit will handle it. I think I grabbed this bit out of the box because it's so long and I knew it would go right through this cottonwood bark, so I'll have no problems doing the carving. My thing is when I want to smooth it over at the end, I don't want to overcut with it because it's going to take way too much wood out for me. So I got to be careful as I go. This piece almost went in the trash because I tried to take the bark off, and the more I took it off, the more it just kept flaking off, and finally it hardened up just a little bit right when I got to the bottom. And when you get this low on a piece of cottonwood bark, it starts getting real papery towards the back. So I'm going to have to watch how deep I go. So far, so good. What's nice about these bits too when you're using a Dremel and a flex shaft is you can pretty much just draw with your bit. And I'm all for that because, you know, I like to draw. So whatever I can come up with in my head, I can pretty much put on the wood. It's just a matter of digging out and lifting the spots that I want lifted and recessing the spots that I want deeper. But otherwise, I'm just using it like a pencil. So anybody can do this type of carving. You get the right piece of wood and the right tools. And you could even draw a picture. I do plenty of drawing tutorials on the channel here. And trace it on the wood. Get a piece of carbon paper or whatever. And try it yourself. It's an easy project. And the more you practice with these bits, the more you learn the process, the more tutorials you watch, the easier it gets. So if you haven't tried this, I recommend trying it. And if you only have one bit or can only afford one bit at the moment when you start, this is a good bit to start with. It's in this bit and the flame burr I recommend. So we got this bit working pretty good here. I sped up the video just a little bit so it doesn't take forever to get through it. You guys will still be able to see all the cuts nice and easy. And I'm just using the same bit. Like I said, I'm going to go through this whole carving. I'm going to see how much I can do with just this bit. Just going to try and get some decent eyes in here before I move to my smaller bit. And I really like to dig up and underneath those upper eyelids to really bring some shadow, and then I put the lower eyelids in. Okay, so make sure if you, even with a bit this thick, it's still nice and pointy, so I can get in this cottonwood bark really easy, and I can get up and underneath those eyelids with it and get me some shadow. And when I get little detail tools afterwards, you know, just like my small comb bit or whatever, or even a little drill bit or something, I could really get some shadow if I want. But I'm just glad that I can get through this and not punch through this carving because it is very thin in the back. So I'm trying not to go too deep and still trying to get a carving on the wood without messing up this piece because there's really not much left to it. When I first got it, it was unbelievable. Every time I pushed this bark up, big chunks would just flake right off, and it just ended up super thin. So I'll be happy if I get anything out of it. I don't have to throw them away. So far, so good. And this bit's working pretty good. I'm glad I chose this one because if I don't go too nuts with it and I just kind of rub it lightly, I'll be able to smooth things with it. I won't be able to do it as quick as with a Cuts All Extreme flame burr or something like that that's a lot wider. So this is working out pretty good for the detailing. Right here I'm segmenting the beard, trying to give him a little bit different beard. I like to shake it up a little bit. Kind of not really layering it, but I am doing it in different sections. Just little pieces to give him a different look. And I'm just going to carve right through the bark that I still have on. Undercutting the cheeks there a little bit. So I guess because I'm not going to be able to get too much depth with him, I'm going to have to pants his beard up a little bit by making him a little bit more interesting to look at. And I'm going to go around the edges and really cut those edges in. And you'll see the effect that has, and that kind of makes him pretty different too. And since he's so thin, I'll be able to go right around the back with one cut and make him look like he's got hair going all the way down and around the back. If I carve, it'll really bring that hair out on the sides. So I'm just making little pieces of beard here. Here you go, going around the sides to the back of the carving. That right there was what I was just talking about. See how that gives them a whole different look? When the carving's nice and thin like that in the back, it's real easy to do. If you have a thicker piece, you have to really wrap around the back of the carving with it. But you could shape your carving up a lot different by doing this and give his hair a really neat effect. And it looks like you did so much more work on the carving. I'm just going right through that bark there. And whatever doesn't look right, I'll take off and undercut it and knock that other heavy stuff off later. But right now I'm just trying to keep that beard looking interesting and giving it all kinds of little pieces of hair and stuff. Make it more interesting to look at. Carving's a lot of illusion too, you know, sometimes just a line or two in certain spots really makes you look like you did a lot more work than you actually had to. But to the eye, people look at it and say, wow, look at all the detail in that thing. And it really didn't take too much when you're using power tools and bits like this. And I think we can get some eyes in there. Put a couple of grooves up here in his head to run a smaller tool in later. And I'm trying to redefine the nose. A little at a time I'm going with this bit, because it can definitely take way too much off or sink too deep if I let it. So I gotta be careful. It's under the nostrils pretty good too. When I have to smooth, I'll use the edge of it. At least it's a long bit, so I can do pretty good smoothing with it because it covers a lot of area. Like right here on the mustache, I can put almost the whole bit on the side of the mustache and take it all down at once and smooth it over. And smooth in the cheeks a little bit. It's a matter of taking your time and seeing what you want to do to the carving. And right here I like to segment the mustache. Gives it a little bit more interesting look. So I'll pop pieces out. And I'll do this with my knife if I'm using just hand tools. But with this bit it's pretty easy. I just go down on one side and come up underneath on the other. And kind of breaks that mustache up really nice. Again, it's all about illusion and giving the carving multiple cuts so it looks very interesting when you look at it, even though it's not the best piece of wood. Okay, this right here is the cone bit from Dremel. Right, this is a little mini cone bit I use for all my detailing, so I'm going to detail this up and go underneath the eyes and all around the carving with it, and we'll see if we can get something out of this guy, and hopefully we have something that we can salvage and sell. See how this cone bit works? When you're detailing with this thing, it's small enough that you can still do eyes and stuff with it. You can go around the nose with it, and it actually burns as it cuts, so it's a great detailing bit. And I use this a lot. You've seen me use it in other videos. And I go in the corners of the mouth, and I do under the mustache. I do pretty much everything with this. And it gives kind of a wood burned effect. And then I sand it out and make sure that any chips and little fuzzies and stuff from the tool actually cutting aren't left on the carving when I'm done. And then I'll even wood burn this at the end, you know, after I even do this and sand it again. So I'm trying to salvage this piece and come up with a halfway decent wood spirit, and that way I won't have to throw the thing out. And it's just a matter of being dainty sometimes, and you know, when I have a nice thick piece, I like to really dig into it and get as much depth as I can. This guy's pretty thin, so I'm going to just end up getting what I get out of it, but at least hopefully I put enough detail on him that once I undercut half of the hair on his beard and everything, he's interesting. interesting enough that they look okay. I really like having a lot deeper carving. Now here I had sanded some of it off, cleaned it up. Put some bags in his eyes here, wrinkles. But I could basically go around the whole carving with this bit and deepen my lines, darken them up. And it's a little more dainty and accurate than trying to do it with that big bit, which I did carve the whole piece with. But now I can hone it with this little bit, which is nice. You'll be able to see the features better. Again, trying to get up and under the top of those eyelids. I'll give them eyebrow lines with it. So this is what I do when I have scrap pieces. I try to actually get something out of them before throwing them away. I mean, especially me with cottonwood bark. I mean, I have to buy every piece of cottonwood bark I carve because it just doesn't grow in my area. So, instead of throwing this in the box or cutting the top off, which is still a little thick to get a carving out of, who knows how much would break off there, I'll try and take it down as far as I can to the good wood, and then still try to get a carving out of it. This is working okay. This guy's turning into somebody. Yeah, see how that little bit I can just pop the eyes right in there with it? Takes a couple of seconds. And then I'll go underneath those bags under his eyes there with it and darken those up. He almost looked like he was asleep before I put the eyes in, didn't it? And then I'll go around and I'll sand it up with a piece of 220. I like to use 220 on cottonwood bark. It's not too aggressive. It takes a lot of the burn off, but leaves the lines inside, the burn lines, so it'll look a lot better than just a really dark burn. And that's pretty much what we end up with. I can clean him up a little bit, wood burn him a little bit more, give him another sanding. And that's pretty much what we're going to end up with in this video. So don't throw those scrap pieces away, because you can always get something out of them, and that's what this video was about. Plus it was fun to do it all with one bit and see if I could do it with a big bit. So this is what we ended up with. I still have to get some of the burn off of his eyes, but hey, from a piece of scrap wood to something that's salvaged, and we got a decent little wood spirit out of it. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see everybody in the next one. Thanks for watching.